Hey there, hotties. Welcome back to the Jennifer Kwapis podcast, where we keep it real, raw, and ridiculously relatable. Today, we're talking about something I know all of us have dealt with, and that's caring way too much about what other people think. Whether it's about our parenting, our personality, our bodies, our interests, so often we allow outside opinions to shape how we feel about ourselves. And honestly, I'm over it, and I want you to be too. If you're new here, hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm an honest, overly caffeinated, and very opinionated mama who started this podcast because therapy is expensive and moms deserve a hype squad. If you're a regular, then buckle up. You know, we go deep and we go there. So let's get into it. Actually, before we get into it, I just want to say thank you to everybody who allowed me to have a nice week off. I feel much better, more relaxed. I can see the end of the school year coming up, and I am so excited for a little bit of a slowdown around here in the near future. I do have to admit that I had so much guilt around not producing an episode last week. And it really got me thinking and it helped me formulate the episode that I have upcoming for you all today. So, we are going to talk about if you are thinking about quitting or giving up on your goals, why you absolutely should not give up and how we need to lean in, because that is a lot of what was going through my mind last week. While things were busy, I started to question if I made the right decision in starting this podcast, because it's a lot of time and work that I put into it. And while I absolutely love and enjoy it, it does take time away from my family or just doing anything else, getting a little rest and relaxation or going for that walk or sitting down and reading for 10 minutes out of a book, whatever it may be. But I had to remind myself that I started this journey because it had been on my heart and my mind for a long time, and that it was put there for a reason. And so, without getting too far into it, because we are going to talk about it later in this episode, if you too are thinking about quitting something, whether it's a diet that you're on or a goal that you've set, don't give up, because anything worth doing is hard and does take a lot of time and energy. And sometimes what you're working towards doesn't formulate as fast as you want it to, or it doesn't seem successful. So you feel like it's a waste of time and energy, but I promise you it is not. All right. So, with that being said, I do want to get into another topic first, and that's just what I mentioned in the opener, is that we need to stop caring about other people's opinions of us. And it is hard, easier said than done, but so truly important. And first and foremost is parenting. For some reason, when we became moms, it seems like your every move is fair game for commentary. And it's bullshit, quite frankly. Like, we need to stop that narrative and commenting on other people's parenting. It starts from such a young age, like, oh, your kid still uses a pacifier, to today when I hear, oh, you let your kid have a cell phone? How much screen time are you letting your kid have? You have what kind of snacks? Or they drink Prime or they drink Coke? And frankly, it's exhausting and it's endless. I know all of you can relate. And there's been a time that you've been at the store and your kid is throwing fruit snacks into the cart like you're on a game show, and your other kid has a kazoo or something in their mouth that they found on aisle 5, and some other woman walks past you, and in that tone, and I know you know what I mean by that tone, someone says, ooh, someone has their hands full. Like, no, Janet, my hands aren't full. My hands are busy raising the next generation while also remembering the last 17 passwords I had to reset. But here's the truth: people are always going to have something to say. Someone will always think that you're doing it wrong. And usually, the people judging you are the ones doing the least. So instead of worrying about the opinions of some stranger in the grocery store or passerby, ask yourself, would you take parenting advice from that person? And if the answer is no, then who cares about their judgment? The only opinion that truly matters in my household is the ones that come from the little tiny humans that I am raising. So if you are feeling judged, maybe try this. Ask your kid, literally. They are very honest. Say, hey, babe, on a scale of 1 to 10, how am I doing as a mom? Kids will give you their answer. And I think you'll also be pleasantly surprised at how they answer. So I asked this of my kids, and my son gave me an 8.5 out of 10 because while I always give good hugs that make him feel happy, I don't let him eat enough candy. And my daughter said I was a 9 because I'm very honest and I always give her the best advice, but she wishes that we could have more girl time together, which is totally fair because who doesn't want to have more girl time? And honestly, she's at a point in her life where she is we support each other as a family, and most of the time we try to do everything that we can together. So she's having to spend a lot of time at her brother's sports practices and games, and I'm sure she would much rather have that time spent one on one. So life is busy, right? And that was a totally fair answer. But I can also evolve from there and say, okay, I need to try and sculpt out more time for her and I to spend together because it matters to her. So their opinions are important to me, and they're the only ones that I care about. And while we might laugh about an answer like my son's that I don't let him consume enough junk food, it's honest and it's real and it's a reflection of the relationship that I have with my children. It's not the opinion of Karen from the PTA and what she thinks. So, what I'm getting at here is stop measuring yourself against filtered social media posts or the you should advice from strangers. Measure yourself by love, effort, and the connection that you have with the people that matter. And while we are discussing things to let go of and that shouldn't matter in your life, we're going to get into you are not too much. You are maybe just not the flavor of the people that you've been around. So I stopped caring about being too much, too bold, too direct, too loud, too ambitious, too masculine. Ladies, we cannot. I used to shrink myself because I thought I needed to tone it down for people that didn't really know me. And I wanted them to like me. I wanted to be likable, as we all do. But what I realized is what I actually wanted was to be understood. And that is not going to happen if I'm pretending to be somebody else. So, yes, I have big goals. And yes, I speak up. And I certainly also have opinions that sometimes can fill up an entire room. That doesn't make me too much. It makes me me. So if you are worried you are too much, and I'm doing air quotes if you're just listening and not watching the podcast, you are not too much. You are probably just too much for the people that you are around, and they're just too small for your calling. Okay. And while on that topic, I do want to add that the circle and the people that you surround yourself with matter. Okay. So let's talk about your village, your tribe, your group chat that can have this chaotic energy and memes in it that are usually just inside jokes or something that you've all been laughing and talking about. Those groups. Here's the truth: the people you surround yourself with shape the way you see yourself. Have you ever left a play date or a parent meeting and feel like absolute garbage? Somebody that you sat with was humble bragging about how their 9-year-old can do no wrong and that they're so perfect and their homes are perfect, their cars are perfect, their jobs are perfect, their family life is just wonderful. Meanwhile, your kid left his jockstrap on your dining room table and lost both of their shoes in a span of 7 minutes. Okay. Sitting with people like that they're not your group. Those aren't your people. Find people who don't care that there's a clump of dog hair that just tumbled across your kitchen floor like a tumbleweed. Find the people who don't judge you when your kid shows up barefoot because they lost their shoes and their toenails are disgusting and need to be cut. But also, honestly, why is it always a moment like that that you're in public that you notice and remember that your kid's toenails are gross? Anyways, just me? No, hopefully not. Or hopefully you can just overlook that that is one of the parenting misses that I seem to have on repeat. Anyways, what I'm saying is find the moms that say, "Oh, same girl," when you confess that you missed ordering their yearbook, even though you wrote it down 7 times and had a reminder in your phone. Surround yourself with women who don't just clap when you win, but also hand you the duct tape when everything is falling apart. You don't need to be perfect for them. You just need to be real. If your current circle makes you feel like you are too much, too loud, too ambitious, too you, then you are not in a circle. You are in a cage. And here is your permission slip to walk away from anyone who makes you feel like your dreams are annoying or your motherhood is up for debate. You are building something beautiful. Find people who are building it too. And no podcast would be complete if you didn't have a little piece of the Kwapis household stories. But here is something that drives me nuts. And I'm working on it because maybe I'm overly sensitive. But people see my husband at the bus stop or will hear me ask for him to run back home and grab something that I forgot. And they go out of their way to tell me how amazing he is. And let me be clear, he is amazing. I am absolutely lucky. But the way they say it, it makes it sound like he is doing it all. And I'm just at home in fuzzy socks eating salted caramels on the couch. I want to be like, yes, you see him at the bus stop because I got up at 5 a.m. to go into the office early so that I could be home to get them off the bus and start doing all of the things, getting them fed, getting them in uniforms for sports, taking them to their social events that they've, you know, voluntold me that I need to drive them or pick them up from, getting them to and from the orthodontist appointment, whatever it may be. We are building this life together, my husband and I. We are a team. Some days I am 20% and he is 80%. And some days I'm holding 90% of it and he's tapped out. But that's how a team works. So before you applaud one person for showing up, just know that you might not be seeing the whole picture. And listen, if you are a mama who is doing all the things solo, I bow down to you. But imagine if someone walked up to you and commented on how your husband is absent. That wouldn't feel great, right? So let's just agree to stop commenting on other people's family dynamics like we know the whole story because we don't. And again, maybe I'm overly sensitive to this topic. And while I absolutely know my husband is wonderful and is a key contributor to this family, I just don't feel like it is something that should be commented on because, like I said, if the shoe was on the other foot, it would be rude to point it out. And also, bitterly, I don't hear anybody walking up to my husband and saying, "Damn, your wife is amazing. She is the best mom and she works so hard." So it just seems very one sided. But I digress. And now I want to move on to what I was talking about in the beginning of this podcast. That if you are tempted to quit a goal that you set for yourself for 2025, or just a goal you've set for yourself in general, let this be your voice of reason. Do not quit. You need to push through it. Maybe you're building a business. Maybe you're pursuing a passion. Maybe you're trying to change your health habits and you're starting to get worn down because the results you wanted are not there. Maybe they're a fat nothing. you're tired, you're getting discouraged, and you're starting to think, maybe I'm not cut out for this, or maybe I'm wasting my time, I am going to tell you again, you are not failing. You are in the middle, right? In the middle, as I've said before, is messy. It's unglamorous, it's quiet, and no one is clapping yet. But this is where the magic is going to happen. You just don't see it yet. If you are starting a bread business and you think no one would care that if you stopped baking those loaves of bread tomorrow, keep baking. If you are working out every single morning and that scale isn't moving, keep moving. If your podcast, your project, your dream isn't taking off like you imagined, keep going. You don't need a new plan. You need grit. You need to put in the work. You need to stay consistent, stay focused, put the energy into it because it will be worth it. The rewards don't come after one post, one launch, or 1 month worth of gym sessions. They come from sticking it out when it feels like no one is watching, like no one is cheering. And I am saying this from a very personal space. Obviously, this podcast is still fairly new, but I did have hopes and goals and aspirations of where I wanted it to be at this point. And if I'm being very honest, the numbers aren't there. They're not hitting the goals I set out for this podcast. And so taking a break while went against what I'm saying with being consistent, I jumped back on the horse this week because sitting there and thinking about what I wanted for the podcast and where I wanted it to go just relit that fire inside of me. And so if you're starting to feel worn out or you're starting to doubt yourself, it's okay to take a minute to pause. Remind yourself why you started doing it. Write down the positives, write down the negatives. And in the positives, find your reason, find your purpose, lean into maybe doing some of those things more. And in the negatives, find ways through them, find ways to stay consistent. Write down things you can do to make that negative move to the positive column. I believe in you, and I believe that you had intention, and that intention was put into your heart or your mind for a reason, and you have to keep going. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to the world to find success in something that you are pursuing. And maybe you need to pivot. That's okay. If you feel like you got to, pivot a little bit because something you're doing isn't working, then by all means pivot, but do not quit. Do not come up with a new plan. Stick to the plan and lean in. I promise you it is going to pay off. Hey, I'm Jen from the Jennifer Kwapis podcast, and I'm here to tell you about Vire Golf, the bold new force shaking up the golf game with grit, innovation, and relentless energy. At Vire, they believe golf just isn't a game, it's a test of character. Every round is a battle, and they are there to help you face it head on. Driven by resilience and built for performance, the name Vire symbolizes adaptability and strength, a spirit that's always ready for the fight. Whether you're navigating bunkers or battling mental blocks, Vire equips you to play with a purpose. From drone flyover previews that help you strategize your round to performance-driven apparel that moves with you, every Vire product is designed to help you stay sharp, look sharp, and play smarter. Vire isn't just a brand, it's a call to action. Vire is for the first-time weekend warriors and the everyday grinders. They are there for the ones who don't quit after a bad hole, who bounce back, and who fight their way through the back nine and still show up ready to do it again tomorrow. Are you ready to take your game to the next level? Learn more about Vire Golf at viregolf.odoo.com. That's viregolf.odoo.com. We'll see you on the course. That's it for today's episode of the Jennifer Kwapis podcast. If this episode spoke to you, please do me a favor and share it with another mama friend who needs to hear it too. Or even better, share it on social media for others to find. And hey, Ask your kid to rate you as a mom this week. Just be prepared for their radical honesty, for their request for more snacks, and honestly, let it warm your heart because I have a pretty good feeling that if you're worried about how you're doing, you're probably doing a damn good job. You've got this, mamas. And as I always remind you, you're doing better than you think. And I'll see you next week.